Okay, I mean, we're a couple minutes ahead here, but I mean, we can go down and introduce ourselves.
Hey, they turned the mics on. It's their fault.
Yeah.
How long have these been on?
Uh-oh. They know where we buried the bodies now. Okay.
I was gonna
Too dark
open
for
with that
C2E2,
story.
I see. So, okay, let's start down here. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Malcolm Ray, voice actor on Nostalgia Critic. I played the Devil, Bill, and many other little characters on the show. Yeah.
I'm Doug Walker, the star of Nostalgia Critic, and I do editing and writing, directing, review movies, man, just everything. So, but yeah, and we know a lot about movies. I'm very excited to talk about them here today.
I'm Rob.
He won a contest.
I won a contest. Co-writer for Nostalgia Critic. I play the chart guy, Santa Christ, Ralph Batchke.
Oh, it's a movie. Hey, it's a family picture, okay? Let's keep this on low dose for families.
So, yeah, that's me.
I'm Brad Jones. I'm the writer, creator, actor, producer of the Cinema Snob. I also do a show called Brad Tries, Lloyd, the animated series, and I play Harrison Ford on the Nostalgia Critic.
He is.
Just switch the samples.
You kill Lens too.
Give you Provacid. Okay. So when we get going on Harrison Ford quotes, we can't stop. Sorry, they're like Pringles. So, okay. But this panel actually is not as much about us. It's about you guys. And it's going to be tricky for us because we cannot see any of you. But the way this is going to work, this is a panel called Movies Everybody Disagrees With You On. This really is about you. Because even though we're film critics and we love talking about film and we love loving film, we love hating film, you know, we're very passionate about it, there is kind of this idea that, well, there's a right way and a wrong way to appreciate movies. And
that's true, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, being critics, of course. But there's really not. What I found out talking with people, somebody will come up to me, you know, my character, Nostalgia Critic, gets very angry at films if there's one he doesn't like, and if you like it, he'll say you're wrong and stuff. So, but that's a character. It's a very exaggerated character where people will come up to me sometimes at cons and be like, hey, I liked Batman and Robin. What do you think about that? I'm like, cool. And I'll be like, why did you like it? Oh, well, you know, I saw it when I was a kid, and, you know, it's like the first Batman movie I ever saw. Oh, that's really cool. That was like the first one. Well, yeah, I just thought it was really cool to see, you know, him with the pointy ears and the cape. And I'm like, that's really cool. Tell me more about your life. Well, you know, a long time ago.
Point being, they leave very disappointed.
But it's something where I find when you don't shove your opinion and you kind of give and you don't force you listen, you share.
You realize we're on the internet, right?
Yes. All the more reason this is important. That when you share your opinion as opposed to force, you can find out more about a person. And a lot of times in disagreements, again, especially on the internet where, you know, everyone likes to kind of stay in their groups, through disagreements, you can kind of find out more about the person and maybe discover a new point of view, something maybe you never thought about. And I find movies are a great way to do that because you can just, it's something you can watch and you know, wait, I just saw the movie Us, and someone can see that as like, you know, wow, there's like so many levels and layers to this film, and somebody can see and be like, oh, it's a cool, scary movie. Like, either works, and neither is wrong. So this is very much going to be about movies that either you love and everybody hates, or you hate and everybody loves, and we're just going to talk about why.
And then you will fight it out in a ring for our amusement.
Finish him! With Star Trek music going.
Select your weapons in the back of the room.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna go down the line. We're each gonna talk about real quick a movie that either we hated, everybody loves, or we love, everybody hates, and then we're gonna open up to you. And what we're gonna do while we're talking about, because there is a very slowly and quietly, because there have been people that rush towards a mic. There's a mic stand right back there, and I'm gonna have you guys, the people that want to talk about the movies, go ahead and line up behind there. It's gonna be difficult to see with the lights and stuff, but you can line up and think of a movie that either you love, everybody hates, or you hate, everybody loves, and why.
Oh no, they're all leaving. We've lost them. We've lost them.
So while you guys are doing that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go down the line and we're going to say a movie that just everybody disagrees with us on. And go ahead, just so we can hear people, just little quiet, quiet. Shush, quiet, my little lamb. There you go. Yes. Oh, it gets creepy when I say that. Okay. So, Brad, why don't you go ahead and start with the movie everyone disagrees with you?
I mean, the easy go-to on that for me would be my favorite movie's Caligula. That's the easy one to go with. Like, what? The movie with the guy with the ass on his stomach got bad reviews? Okay.
It's a great date film, kids.
The one that I'll say, only because I just did an episode on it recently, is a movie that I grew up with it being one of my favorite comedies. Watch it with my family all the time, is Spielberg's 1941. It wasn't until I was honestly older that I knew that, like, oh wait, that got bad reviews when it came out. And it's generally considered to be like one of his lesser movies, but it's one that I grew up watching with my parents, and my parents saw it in the theater in '79 when it came out. So we always had it on quite a bit and always quoted it. And that's a comedy. That is a real epic comedy. Like, it is gorgeously shot, for one thing, between the set pieces, the explosions, the model work that they use in it, the action sequences, all for very, very zany plot lines going on throughout the movie. Like, there are these, like, just epic, almost Irwin Allen disaster level 70s effects going on in the film for like this subplot with like Eddie Deason and a talking dummy, and the movie just cracks me up every single time I watch it, and I just notice things in the background all the time too. And I just did an episode on it recently. That's one that I love, and it is also one that over time has found an audience as the years have kind of gone on. So I don't know if it's looked down upon as much as it was, say, in '79, but that's a great movie. It's one of my favorite comedies.
Rob, how about you?
My favorite Batman movie is Batman Returns. I don't care what anybody says. I love that film. It's the lesser sequel. Shut up. No, I really love that movie. Recently, if you want an example of a movie that, you know, a ton of people saw that I didn't like, I was not a huge fan of Captain Marvel, and millions of dollars of people disagree with me, apparently. So Marvel makes another killing.
But pick one and say what you liked or disliked.
What I like about Batman Returns is the first Batman is very much a Burton film, but Batman Returns is like pure Burton.
Yeah.
Unfiltered, unwatered down,
unfiltered,
off a leaf.
Pure Burton. Like, this stuff's 100 proof Burton. It just is so his own thing that even when it doesn't work, I'm like, well, he took a risk. And I still think Michelle Pfeiffer is the best Catwoman ever put on screen. Hands down.
And Christopher Walken is the best Christopher Walken.
Oh, absolutely. And Bruce, why are you dressed up like Batman?
He is Batman, you moron.
Was. So yeah, I love that film.
I just did an episode on this, even though I acknowledge it's not a good movie. I think it is so fun. It's so entertaining. I really enjoy X-Men: The Last Stand. There's a couple. Okay.
Hooray! I heard groans.
No. There's definitely groans. I acknowledge it's not good, but the other two, I appreciate them a little more. But they were kind of more middle of the road, safe. Really took its time, kind of bland looking and stuff. Where 3, when I think of X-Men, I think of, like, you know, people jumping out of things and slashing at things and explosions and people talking about the dilemmas of, if you can't do this because ethically you'll find out that blah, 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 and a person goes in the corner and cries, and, you know, like, that's X-Men to me. And that's what I got with The Last Stand. It was big, it was bombastic, it was loud, it was sophisticated, it was stupid, it was full of color, it was action-packed, it was ridiculous, and I just felt like this is more like kind of what I grew up with X-Men. It's still not quite X-Men, but it's closer, you know, than the other two. But I acknowledge it doesn't work as a story, like, at all. People just kind of do things. But out of the 3, like, that's the one I would love to watch.
You want the X-Men film where people just kind of do things.
Well, they didn't do anything in the other 2, so yes. And when I did the review of it, a lot of people in the comments were like, it was almost like they could feel like they could come out like, I kind of liked it too. Yeah, me too. I I know it's stupid, but come on, Kelsey Grammer's piece was amazing. You know, like more and more people are kind of coming out.
I will squash every last one of them.
How about you, Malcolm?
I'm in a similar situation when it comes to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. Like, yeah. Yeah.
There you go, man.
People caught on now that it's a meme, right? The dancing emo Tobey Maguire. I mean, that's still a classic to me. I love that scene so much. I like it because, I like it ironically because clearly, you know, Sam Raimi was not into the idea of cramming all these different plots into one Spider-Man story. You know, you got Venom, you got Sandman, and Hobgoblin. Or was it Green Goblin?
It was
the Son of
Green
Goblin.
Son of Goblin.
With amnesia, because that's always
that's
the top point.
James Franco.
Or as I call him, Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah. But like that movie, like, you know, you see that Sam Raimi's not into the idea, so he's just completely going insane with this, saying, yeah, just do whatever, and he's kind of trolling the studio, so I like that aspect of it. And there's some legitimately good performances in there. Like, they're very entertaining.
The scene where the Sandman comes to life, it's like one of the most amazing scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, his whole story in there is like perfect. I'm like, if they just focus this on Sandman, this would be a perfect Spider-Man movie. But you get a little bit of that. You'll get a little bit of like the crazy stuff going on with Peter Parker, and I love it.
You're all dead to me.
I do stick up for like the whole Dark Peter sequence because that actually is my favorite sequence in the movie because it's done like it's the opposite of the raindrops keep falling on my head sequence from the second movie.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. It's like, oh, it's like that, but but he's an asshole now.
Exactly.
I enjoyed that about the movie.
Exactly. The other two movies are doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's my thought. It's like, well, the other two were so silly and corny and goofy, and it's like, well, 3 was too silly and corny. It's like, really?
That was too much.
Like, that was too much.
Why don't we move on?
Did you watch
Let's just move on.
But, I'm just going to give you a heads up. We cannot see you at all. So if you're like,
We'll assume your cosplay is amazing.
Yeah, if you're like, I dislike this movie, we're not going to see it. Don't hold
Why
it
aren't they
up.
looking at me in the eyes?
We go like that.
Oh, God, because there's a long line, though. Okay, so let's just get through it.
Whoa.
Let's see.
Whoa, yeah.
Blurry Gray Haze #1. Go ahead. Well, what's a movie everybody disagrees with you on?
One movie that everyone disagrees with me on is La La Land.
Like or dislike?
I do not like it.
Oh, I've heard that before, actually. Yeah.
I mean, already there's people like, yeah, right, but what did you dislike about it?
There were many cliche moments, and the ending just felt like it was put there just to stir up controversy.
Oh.
I never heard controversy.
Wait, what's
That's
controversy?
interesting. Well, okay, I guess we can't. We go into spoilers if we go into it, but I've never heard
Plug your
that.
ears if you haven't seen the movie.
That there's controversy about it? I never knew that. No, and this is when we saw it.
Yeah.
I liked it. He adored it.
I loved it.
Because he's very familiar with sort of the old school singing in the rain, like really classic
old Hollywood musicals.
Yeah, where kind of my musicals are a little bit more kind of like, where with those, I think it's fair to say they're not story driven like those musicals, you know, but they're very much about showing off a big production, where I like kind of the more story driven ones. And this was trying to do something like, it seemed like it was trying to do more of that, but there is kind of a story to it. But like, yeah, you could kind of take out the songs and it's like, well, okay, I didn't find out anything about them, you know, like it's kind of more in that tradition. So it's one of those things where I know where you're coming from, and I get when people are like, well, why do people like this movie? I don't get it. They sing about nothing, but it's like, it is kind of a send up to this style that they did years ago in movie musicals that they don't really do anymore, while also attaching like an actually a pretty okay story to it and some good performance.
As a side note, I just want to say this is what I love about Brad Jones. Oh yeah, I love old Hollywood movie musicals. So what do you do for a living? I review pornos and horror films.
A couple of them were a musical. The Alice in Wonderland musical porno.
She moaned off key.
Oh yeah. They give oral sex to Humpty Dumpty, and then they sing about it afterwards.
Family picture.
Humpty Dumpty.
So no, as you heard from the applause, you're definitely not alone on that. So awesome, thank you so much.
This seems like a La La Land crowd.
I love La La Land.
Go ahead.
One movie that everyone seems to disagree with me upon is Thor Ragnarok. I don't really like it.
Hey.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Shots fired.
Hold on. Wait. Guys. Good Lord.
Just run, kid, run.
Run, Forrest, run! They didn't like Ragnarok?
I did not like Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, neither did I. I got your back.
You're gonna have to go through Brad.
Yeah,
I really do want to
Don't
see
worry.
Brian.
Don't worry, the shortest person in the room has your back.
But I think I have an idea why you didn't like. Why didn't you enjoy it?
I didn't like it because the jokes really relied upon shock humor, which made it kind of hard to watch a second time.
Shock you? No kidding. Like, I'm so curious. What's like a shocking joke in that?
I remember one joke is Thor and Loki were like in an elevator and they're talking about the help me method, or I'm pretty sure it's called that. When it's revealed that like Thor would carry Loki and throw him at someone, and I feel like it was funny the first time around, but the second time I saw it, it wasn't nearly as funny because I knew what was coming up.
Oh, okay. So you're saying you don't like it because, like, upon another viewing, like, it feels kind of stale. Like you've seen this kind of stuff. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. I just agreed.
One of the big criticisms, I think Brad was saying this too, of kind of Marvel films in general, and I get, even though I do like that movie, you can see it a lot there, is when they're trying to have like an actual moment, it's like, oh, but we have to have something goofy. Someone says something stupid, and it's like, I get that. I'm kind of okay with it because just the fact I'm taking any comic book seriously in movie form right now, I think is amazing. Like, this is just amazing age for comic book movies. But
Ragnarok was so stupid though that I just didn't mind. I'm like, okay, we're just going.
Yeah, I love the stupidity.
But I know where it's coming from. But even we acknowledge, yeah, it's stupid, you know. But it's not going to be everybody.
It's the Thor movie I was waiting for. Short but pointless.
I liked Aquaman so much better because Aquaman felt more genuine. Aquaman was way more genuine, whereas Ragnarok felt like a self-contained riff tracks. And, which would have been fine if I thought it was funnier than what it was. And there were some laughs that I got in it, but then other parts where it was like something in any other movie kind of serious would happen, and then they'd be like, oh, but there's the devil's anus. And I'm like, movie, can you grow up for 5 minutes? That's just me. Like,
does Aquaman have Jeff Goldblum?
no, but it has King Dolph Lundgren. King Dolph Lundgren was awesome.
I just love the word King Dolph.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. No, that's a really cool one. Hi there.
Let me adjust this here. Hi.
Hello.
The movie everyone disagrees with me about is Santa Claus the movie, which I like. Unironically.
Is that the one with the Big Lebowski as Santa Claus?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that. I love them.
And you
I do
like
too.
it?
The problem I seem to have is that while people are willing to praise the first half of the movie, they have no respect for the second half.
But John
The
Lithgow.
second half of that movie is what makes the movie for me.
Christmas too.
Yes.
Yeah, now I gotta know what is it about this? If anyone hasn't seen this movie, it's a fun movie.
It's amazing.
But what is it about the second half that you enjoyed? The second half arguably gets a lot more silly, and this is about an origin story about Santa Claus. But what in the second half actually do you enjoy more?
Well, I like the characters of Patch and BZ. I think the interplay between Dudley Moore and John Lithgow is wonderful. It is actually interesting and funny. I saw the movie for the first time when it was in theaters, New Year's Eve, 1985, and I was only 7, but I found that whole second half plot line captivating.
Well, when I was
fascinated.
As a kid, I liked it. As an
Yeah.
adult, I'm like, yeah, the second half's kind of weaker.
I
but-
realize-
But
enjoyed it as
I
a
kind
kid.
of love it though, because John Lithgow is so over the top, and he's
yeah.
such a satire of like that corporate America, and I do love that. Yeah, Christmas too. That's just so funny.
And I love Dudley Moore. And you're like, I love it for like what you were talking about
I
too.
adore Dudley Moore,
Same.
and I think he's one of the great forgotten movie stars
I
of the
totally agree.
1980s.
I've got a lovely bunch
and
of
that's
cat
really one of
tags.
his better films of that period, because after I mean, he never did anything as good as Arthur again.
No.
But compared to all the lame romantic comedies they were sticking him in after that, Patch is this wonderful character. I really liked his
It's a sweet
arc. He's
character.
interesting.
It is, and you're right, because around that era of Dudley Moore, because I love Arthur and 10 and Foul Play, like around that era, you're right, it does stand out above, like, because he did like Best Defense around the same
It
time.
was one of
Yeah.
his least obnoxious performances. Too.
I
Played it fairly
I love
Yeah.
what he had to do.
I love when he's about to be fired from his job and he resigns, like because he sees it's too hard for Santa
Right.
to say he has to, and that's a legitimately like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's a heart-tugging scene. So, no, that's very interesting, and I've never heard that. Like a lot of the movies brought up in the panel, it's like, okay, yeah, this movie, okay, I'm sure. No, I've never heard Santa Claus the movie, so that's really cool. I have a real soft spot for that film too. I do
like
too.
that it's from the producers of like Superman, the movie.
Yeah, it has
And
that feel.
It
It's
does,
like a
for an
Superman
origin of Santa.
story
Yeah.
for Santa.
Yeah, and I dig that about
If
the
you
movie.
compare it to what they were doing with the Superman films by that point, they clearly had more respect for Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, you're right, yeah.
We're talking about Superman 3 and 4 were amazing.
Thank you so much. The next one here. Hi there.
Hello.
Hello.
I was gonna say Batman Begins. I'm not a fan of that movie, but to steer away from the comic book movies, I really don't like Ocean's 11.
Which one?
The Soderbergh one?
The remake with George Clooney.
Okay, well, what don't you like about that one?
I feel like playing off the X-Men, it's just a bunch of characters doing things, and I think the name Terry Benedict is the stupidest fucking name for a casino owner in the world. Sounds like an omelet.
Fair.
I'll have the Terry Benedict with a side of hash browns, please.
With a side of
Underdone.
Underdone.
I've never heard someone dislike a movie because they hate the name of the character.
That's not the only reason. I just think it's a bunch of
I know.
yeah.
I'll tell you my one complaint about that movie is it depends on everything going exactly right, and then at the end of it, when you think, oh, maybe some things have gone wrong, like, no, it just all went exactly right at the end. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
There's like no real surprise to it.
Yeah.
Like it exists.
I do like the movie a lot, but whenever, because I've heard people say that and a few other things about the movie, it's like, oh yeah, I totally see that. I totally get that. Like, I know people who don't like it because like, and it's true. It is a movie where it's like you could tell they just kind of had fun hanging out with each other in Vegas.
There's no real substance to it.
Yeah, and I get that about the movie because I've seen movies before where I've disliked for that reason, where it's like, okay, this is just a group of actors just getting together and hanging out in Vegas, and they happen to be making a movie. But I do like Ocean's 11. I found it
I
entertaining.
enjoyed it enough, basically.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about. I mean, if you want to see even more of that, of just people
Ocean's
standing around
12?
doing another, no, just see the original Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Die Hard, yeah.
Where it becomes a heist movie in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's mostly them just mingling. So, no, cool. Very good choice. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Hi there.
Hello, huge fan.
Thank you.
So, a movie that I love, but everyone I know seems to hate, is about this superpowered individual who finds himself in America, has to learn a lesson about humanity, fights another intergalactic freedom fighter / terrorist. You don't mess with the Zohan.
I love that movie.
Roger
Love
Ebert
that
got you
movie.
back. You like that movie.
Yeah, no, I love that movie. You know, that was at the time when Adam Sandler could still, like, he really was like a box of chocolates. You never knew what you were going to get because it's like, well, okay, like you saw the trailer didn't say anything about the movie. It's like, this could be really funny or it could be awful. And that was one of the ones when I saw it, I'm like, I thought this was pretty funny. And you even heard from the applause here, too. I mean, a lot of people legit like it and had a lot of fun. And, yeah, I mean, is it like high art? No. Is it high humor? No. Well, you have to be high to probably enjoy a lot of it, but it's like, I'm high a lot, so, no, kidding. No, I've heard most people see the trailer like, yeah, I don't want to, but then when they see it, they're like, that was pretty funny. So there's a lot of people that agree with you, I think. That
Yeah, and
legitimately
like for
that
me, it's
film.
like not only do I find it funny, but I also I was making the joke about how it's so resemblant to Man of Steel. But one time I remember I was arguing with a friend about it, and he was like, Man of Steel is this amazing film about the immigrant experience, and I was just like, You Don't Mess with the Zohan is better.
I think
I tend to agree.
I think clearly Adam Sandler made the better Superman movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh, agreed.
A Z for Zohan. No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's a lot of movies I haven't
The
heard.
Mask of Zohan.
I like that.
Yeah.
Hi there.
Big fan.
Thank you.
Okay, so the movie everyone seems to disagree with that I actually liked was Logan. The
You
Wolverine
like
one.
or dislike?
I liked it, they disliked it.
Really?
Really?
Where are these monsters?
Who are your friends?
Yes. Who are your friends? Are you okay?
This movie I love and everyone hates
Let's
Empire
see that
Strikes
these
Back.
other group of friends are very critical about the actual comic book. Like one of the friends who was really
okay.
disagreeable has a very vast knowledge of the character Wolverine himself, and pretty much the reason why I liked it was because it was pretty much the curtain call for Hugh Jackman's character as Wolverine.
Yeah.
But not only that, but because of how the story for Wolverine ends in such a almost deepening, complex way. I mean, he was pretty much at the stage of giving up. All the mutants were practically dead. If I'm giving away any spoilers, I apologize for those who haven't seen the movie.
I'm assuming most people here have seen it.
But-
well, we doing a comic book convention.
pretty
You
much-
haven't seen Logan yet.
Pretty much from beginning, middle to end, it's just mind-boggling. How it's complex that he's about to give up, and then all of a sudden he realizes that his daughter, from a freaking petri dish, nonetheless, comes into the mix, and it changes his whole giving up stage, or he makes his real final stand.
Yeah,
And
no, I have not heard, mostly I've heard raves about it. It's funny when you said that because I thought you were going to dislike it, so I was going to say, I actually do have a few issues. Oh, okay. But something you were saying about, you say your friends didn't like it because they were big comic book fans and they didn't like it as an adaptation of...
they just didn't think that it was the adaptation similar to the comic book.
and this gets to...
That's how everybody gets these days.
Well, no, but that gets to a good point. Representing adaptations are tough because you want to represent the original material, but you can't do a direct adaptation. You can't do scene by scene. So how much of the soul of the original material do you keep intact? And the X-Men movies have always had a tricky time with that.
Considering how low the bar has been set with a number of the X-Men films, I'm like, I don't care about the adaptation. They made a good movie.
But for example, I know, I mean, not many, but I know one or two people that they don't like the Lord of the Rings films because they're just so different in so many ways from the books. And it's like, I get that. The books really do make just this very clear world, and the way these people talk is so different than how they talk even in the movie.
I am a talking nut, and they're wrong.
But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you also got to make it for a grand audience. You also have to... almost sneeze there. Sorry.
Maybe if you see the extended version of Return of the King, 4 hours and 20 minutes, maybe
well,
a little bit more closer to the book.
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean. That's a different feel in some ways, but in many ways it captured what those books really were about.
To quote Sister Act, it's like Vegas. It's about putting butts in the seats. You got to appeal to the widest audience.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, when it comes to an adaptation, I get it, and there are some things I have not liked, with the exception of the Chuck Jones. No, actually, I'll do this. With the exception of, the Chuck Jones one, I have not liked any of the Jungle Book movies ever made. But the Disney one, I acknowledge, actually, the anime one, is totally fine. It's a very cute, enjoyable movie. The character is very charming, but it's the book is I love the book. I just think it's amazing writing. And with the exception of this little Chuck Jones short that's maybe 24 minutes, I've never seen a faithful adaptation that really got the spirit of it. So there is something to that, to adaptation, where somebody says, well, I didn't like it because it didn't represent what I thought the story was about. That's a totally legit point. But
is it a good movie?
I mean, but it can't. But again, if a movie's supposed to capture the source of what it's about, I mean, you can understand why someone would not like it. So, but with you saying, yeah, I can't find anyone that likes Logan, man, you got a whole room full of people, man, that love it.
Malcolm, I didn't hear your statement. Malcolm, big fan, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Oh, I concur. I mean, everything's been said that's been said about it.
Just one more quick statement. Maleficent 2. Seriously? They should have reversed it to the first. I mean,
I was gonna say, no, Maleficent won, seriously. It's it made money, so of course they're well, of course we gotta do it too.
And now Maleficent 2 poster, I'm like, Even after looking at the title, I'm having an aneurysm thinking
Yeah,
about it.
Maleficent
That's
2,
all I
very
got. Thank you
boogaloo.
guys so much.
Thank you. Hi there.
Hi there, how's it going?
Very good.
Okay, one movie that that everyone disagrees with me on, I like Alien 3.
That's fair.
You got some.
It's not right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I've heard people were like, oh, it's too depressing and it's too dark. It's like, have you seen the first one? It's dark. The depressing thing was not in there at all, but...
Yes, but the cat made it out alive. That makes
There you go, yeah, but, I mean, the thing is, too, people were like, well, when people died, we weren't like, yeah, it's like, you're not supposed to feel like that. You're supposed to feel sorry for when someone dies, and I felt...
That's I've never, when people see Alien or aliens, I don't hear people go, woo, yeah, kill that. It's like, they're usually like, oh,
Yeah,
like
no,
horrified. So that's interesting.
Alien is one of the few films where I think the characters are like compelling enough that I'm like, I don't want to see them.
Yeah,
No, a lot of horror movies I can't wait.
No, but that's an interesting angle too, where you're saying like when somebody goes into a horror film, they're expecting to see a certain type of horror film where they want to root for the monsters, not the people, which is totally fine too. I mean, we like some films like
Yeah, and I mean, I know it had troubled history because there was no script when they were making it, and...
Yeah, the history of it is like
Yeah,
crazy.
it's just- I mean, I could
really
get why
compelling.
people hate it, but I love it.
I have a soft spot for it in the sense that, like, it was the first one of the series that I saw in theaters. Like, I saw it with my mom when it came out, so I sort of have a soft spot for it in that regard. And also, because it's one of those movies that had such a troubled shoot, a troubled pre-production, and it is kind of this Franken movie cobbled together in editing, I almost respect it a little bit in that regard.
Yeah,
for what we
it's
got,
better
yeah.
than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
Considering all of the things that went wrong with it.
No, the only thing I legit don't like about it is that it really does make just like the previous films pretty pointless. It's like,
yeah, no, the opening of that movie.
I mean, you just see the connections they make, and it's just like, nope, all dead. It's like, that really sucks. So like,
Bye.
Maybe
I
because
sort
did
of
make such a
respect
connection.
that too, in a way. It's like, that's a little
Such a
ballsy.
connection with them, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like, oh man, like it.
Where's
kind of
Newt?
agree, but
Kentucky Fried Chicken. We're done.
yeah, it's just harsh.
Seriously.
I get that too, though. Like with Apocalypse Now, that had a troubled history, like a troubled like shoot.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, getting to see like the final product for what it is, it's like, you know, they really worked hard to make this work.
Yeah.
Well, it ended up becoming a masterpiece. Like,
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now we're talking about.
But I mean, if you
Apocalypse
Not Alien 3.
Alien Academy Award winner Alien 3. I love the smell of alien blood in the morning.
But I gotta say, it's
Smells
like,
like xenomorphs.
I gotta say, it's like if you go from a movie that had no script and you put a final product together, that's amazing that you finished it at least. But
Yeah, no, I hear where you're coming from, definitely. I'd be lying if I said I didn't kind of have a soft spot for it too, but yeah, there's people that like it. I think kind of like 1941, like it's getting a little bit of like a cult following, and people say, come on, it's some good stuff. Again, especially considering the troubled history, so you're definitely not alone on
It's
that.
one of those movies, and this happens occasionally, where it's just like, if you ask me, it's just like, hey, like, yeah, this scene from Alien 3, oh, that's great. It's like, do you ever want to watch the whole movie Alien 3? No. Like, it's very rare I've ever sat through all of Alien 3 beginning to end. I always,
Yeah,
like,
kinda tough.
I bore out at some point, but, like, there's a number of scenes where if they're on TV, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember this scene, this is cool. And then 20 minutes later, I'm changing the channel.
Yeah, it's one that too that, like, I mean, you mentioned like there are people like over time that have kind of warmed up to it a little bit, and some of that I can chalk up to some of the ones that came after it that were way worse.
I was going to say
Resurrection was
Stockholm
terrible.
Syndrome, but
I mean, when you compare it to like AVP Requiem,
oh god,
it's
Pretty good.
fantastic.
Awesome, thank you so much.
thank you so much.
Alien Covenant, the best of the series.
Yeah.
Kind of
Hi
like
there.
How's it going?
Hi.
First of all, I really hope somebody checks in with that kid that didn't like La La Land in like 10 years after his first real big heartbreak and see if he has the same.
Whoa, buddy.
We'll see. I don't know. That's somebody else's job. right now, but I think he probably will. However,
Wow. Somebody.
Dude, he was like 5.
Somebody is really not letting this go.
no, that's
It's like, you don't get it, dude. La La Land is me.
yeah, for sure.
I like La La
The
Land.
same review for Last American Virgin.
It's like, let me guess what movie you love, but other people don't like.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild. But I am here in defense of a movie I like that nobody else does. 2015 Josh Trank's Fantastic Four.
Okay, no, wait. Guys. Let's.
That is the reaction
Let's
I
just-
wanted.
Okay, I just want to get this straight. I
was on your side at first.
You were upset about the kid about La La Land, but now you're bringing this movie. Just want to make sure we're clear.
Now,
I just want to say, if you didn't open making fun of the kid who didn't like the musical based on like the 40s and 50s style, and then said, but Fantastic Four is great, you would not have probably gotten that reaction.
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
You should have said the Roger Corman one, man. I would have had your back.
And this little kid loved La La Land.
Oh, yeah, I love La La Land. I can't follow you, though, for Josh Trank's Fantastic Four.
let me.
Okay, Bill Burr, what did you in
All right.
fact
Yeah.
enjoy about Fantastic?
I will never say that Fantastic is a good movie.
That's good.
I think it's probably maybe pretty bad. However, if you watch that movie like an Easter egg hunt, you're gonna have a lot of fun.
Like an Easter egg hunt? What do you mean?
yeah,
like
You're
he's
gonna
covered
find
the Easter egg.
dirty grass-covered eggs in your yard?
No, so
There are eggs all over the movie.
So the way that the legend goes about it is that Josh Trank came to Fox and was like, hey, I want to make a Fantastic Four movie like a David Cronenberg movie. And they were like, yeah, do that. And then he did it, and they said, oh my God, what
It's like
did
a David
we do?
Cronenberg movie.
Yeah. So then they reshot it, and they recut it, and they hacked it all to bits, and it's not, it's kind of a jumbled mess. But if you watch it in the lens of what do we think Josh Trank was trying to do?
I'll admit, I don't think it'd be good, but I'm so curious what the original movie was.
I agree with what he was saying, because when I watched the movie, I kind of knew that. I'd heard Josh Trank mention that beforehand, that he was...
Well, didn't he even he say, don't go see the movie?
No, he did,
tweet
yeah.
that? Yeah.
And when you watch it, when I went to go see it when it came out, and there were some parts where I was like, okay, I can kind of see like right here where when they first turn, and it's kind of like Trank trying to do the Fantastic Four by way of The Fly in a couple of scenes. Like I sort of see it in those parts a little bit. The movie's still terrible, but I can kind of see the vision he was starting with.
That's
So he likes the movie that never got made, basically.
Yeah, kind of like Event Horizon. I hear a lot of people actually like that film a little more when they hear kind of what it was supposed to be, and there's little snippets of it in there of like the real disturbing gore and some of the imagery and stuff. And there's only flashes, but if you go and pause it, just those little snips alone, it's like, what was this movie? Like, what was it gonna be? So I can kind of see that. I can see where you're coming from for that, and that's an interesting angle. I don't usually hear that angle. Just word of advice: don't usually open up making fun of little kids.
That's my job.
Important safety tip. Thanks, Egon.
No, legitimately, thank you so much.
See what happens when we take away the puppy.
Hi. I was at your table earlier. I was the toga choker that you saw. Okay, so a movie that I absolutely hate with a burning passion that somehow got critically acclaimed is the live action Where the Wild Things Are. I just...
Never saw it.
You're not alone. There's a lot
Doug's
of people...
internally screaming right now.
No, but I'm not gonna lie, that's one of my favorite movies. I think that movie is brilliant. But when I first saw it, like throughout 90% of the, and I may not have, but about 50%, I'm like, what the hell is this film doing? I was not catching on at all, and finally at some point it kind of clicked in, and maybe it's something similar to what you're talking about. Well, what did you not like about it?
Like, I understand the issue. You have to draw a 12-page children's book into an hour-and-a-half long movie, and I was just sitting there with my mom and her friend in the theater, like, okay, I saw some snippets in the book, and then for the rest of the movie, I'm just like, this is boring. I don't get the point of it. Why am I watching this movie? Like, I kind of didn't understand the direction they were going with the whole drama and stuff. I'm like, it's a kids movie. Be more cheerful about it. And I was just like, I left the theater. I'm just like, I am never seeing this boring movie ever again.
I know exactly what you're talking about because through a good chunk of it, that's what I was thinking too. And at some point, this just clicked on me. I thought back to when I was a little kid. And, you know, a lot of little kids, when something, either something dramatic is happening or not happening, you know, there's always a time where a kid wants to be alone. They kind of want to be in their head or play with their toys, you know, or something like that. And they're usually working through their issues through the character. Like, I really liked, you know, Ninja Turtles growing up. So I would imagine scenarios where Ninja Turtles are doing something, and I was realizing I was kind of working through whatever feelings I was going through at the time. But I didn't
still
know
works through his issues with Ninja
Still,
Turtles.
like save the day always. But it's one of those things. If you look at it from the point of view of like, these are characters he made up to kind of work through his own stuff, but it's not like Shark Boy and Lava Girl where it's like, that's my mom, that's my dad, they represent that. It's something where it's a little bit more abstract because the kid doesn't know he's working through this stuff. And if you look at the characters kind of as that, well, that's got a little bit of his father, well, that's got a little bit of the fear of like the sun gonna explode, that's him kind of maybe feeling like things are gonna end with him, or maybe he's not gonna be able to have the things he wanted, like his snow fort. His sister's kind of moving further away from him, like, you know, didn't help him out when the snow fort was destroyed. These little things, and they just give you these little clues, just vague enough in the opening, where if you kind of watch the film saying he's kind of working through his own stuff through this way, this imaginative way, I found it kind of intriguing. And I like that it didn't directly say this represents that. You can kind of read in you know, your own interpretation of it. So I really enjoyed the film from that angle, but at the same time, it's a book for like 5-year-olds, and suddenly you're going to tell this really intense, abstract, you know, kind of idea that probably no kid is going to get. Not even that many adults are going to necessarily grab onto. And yes, it's very long and drawn out. But as someone that's kind of like, as a kid, I think a lot of kids sort of did sit and think for a while and sort of go with these little fantasies in their head, but working out other things. I thought it was kind of intriguing from that angle. So if you do ever check it out again, which, I mean, I get it is long, it is boring. Think about maybe looking at it from that point of view. You might like it more, or maybe you'll hate it more. I don't know.
I'll definitely check it out because I first saw the movie in theaters. I don't even remember when it came out, but it was like when I was 14 or 15, and yeah, I understand. So I'm older now, so maybe I'll watch it again and look at it from a different point of view.
There's a lot of movies I've seen when I was younger too that I thought were crap, and I saw it later. It's like, oh, now I get it. You know.
The movie was an interesting conceptual dare because it's like, I'm gonna take Where the Sidewalk Ends and turn it into an existential horror film.
Yeah, I mean,
See, you two would love Wonder Park.
But if I was a movie producer, I wouldn't in a million years give that film a big budget. I would love the idea to be like, nobody would go see that.
Now, Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Honestly, that would have more of a chance, and does. People still talk about that.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl, Where the Wild Things Are crossover.
Finally. So thank you. That was really cool hearing that.
Yeah.
Hi there.
What's up?
Hi.
Okay, so I'm sorry we're picking on this kid who's like all hating La La Land and stuff like that, but so the movie I present to you, I love it a lot. I think it's the inner thespian in me, the inner musical lover in me, but I'm gonna say Greatest Showman.
You like or dislike?
Greatest Showman.
Okay, I like Greatest Showman, and here's kind of like the reason why I'm bringing this movie into flames. So when I watched Greatest Showman, I knew nothing about P.T. Barnum, all right? I knew nothing about like the character himself, the things
I'm already seeing why you like this movie.
Well, fill in the blanks. Okay, so, but here's the thing. Like, if you didn't really know about P.T. Barnum, if you didn't know anything about his history or his past or anything like that, you probably think, oh, Greatest Showman's actually a really, really, really good movie or something like that. But ever since people found out the history, ever since people found out this, misrepresented, et cetera, they started like backlashing towards it, saying, oh, I don't like it. Oh, I recommend you don't see it, and stuff like that. And to me, it's like your Balto review. You didn't know the character, you didn't know what actually happened, but at the end of the day, did you have fun?
And also, who goes into like a big Hollywood musical about P.T. Barnum and thinks it's going to be a documentary?
True story. We saw that movie with Tamara, and we were the only ones in the cinema. It was amazing because we were riffing on it like crazy. We thought it was one of the best things we ever were.
But at
able
the
to do
same, so
together.
not only was it hugely entertaining, I think the songs are legit good, and the technique is insane. The timing and how fast they are and how precise they are. And,
This director knew how to film a musical, which is something that's actually strangely rare. If you see a lot of musicals, they lack kinetic energy, which is what you need.
We went in knowing it's not going to be his life, it's going to be nonsense, but we were hoping it was at least going to be entertaining. I thought it was hugely entertaining, and there was a lot to appreciate
It was a batshit garbage story, but it was hilarious.
You're exactly right, because the story
I was
wasn't
laughing
great,
so hard.
but the music was good, and it was well made. Like,
I thought it was hugely entertaining.
Well performed.
And that film did get, I mean, it became a hit slowly. I mean, people kept going back to it, and I can see why. And there is something to, like, I think people should know, okay, it is really not his story at all. Like, it's amazing how much it's not a story, and I think that's important going in. And even from a character's storytelling standpoint, it's super cliched. We've seen this in a million stories like this. But I thought in terms of like the songs, the technique, the enjoyment, just how everybody in that movie is trying 100,000,000% to try and entertain you, and you can feel it in every frame. I really legitimately enjoyed it.
Wolverine is whipping elephants for your amusement.
Considering the musical we watched right before it came out was the Christmas Story live musical that had a in-movie ad of that film in it. Considering that, it's like you go into Greatest Showman like, well, maybe this is all right, actually, compared to the 8 hours of the Christmas Story musical.
The doctor said I'm never allowed to watch that Christmas Story live musical again. I have irreparable brain damage. It could kill me if I see it again.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bonsoir.
Hello.
Hi there.
Movie that everyone disagrees with me with is Batman v Superman.
Oh, you like it?
No, I love this. No, don't even know what the opinion is, but someone's like, "Oh, no, he didn't."
Shut
I love it. I like.
He said a movie.
I think
You like or dislike?
I like.
Okay. And what do you enjoy about it?
I think it's the production. Kind of similar argument to where you have with The Last Stand. It's just like big fights, big.
I like it.
Macho.
I like Alfred. Jeremy Irons is one of my favorite Alfreds.
I just love the I just love the how it's like seeing the characters in new faces in their anti-form, sort of like the evil Superman comes and it's just a good contrast
Batman.
for me. Yeah, evil Batman, evil Superman, and it sets up so much for the DCU. I know, like.
So you like it because it was something kind of is so different than what you've seen for like Batman and Superman and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I can get that. Kind of like what you were saying with Alien 3, where it's like I don't want to see those characters die, but at the same time, it is like, man, that was ballsy. Like like just taking kind of a different angle with it.
I get it. It's when I talk to people who do really like that movie. I don't care much for the film at all, but when I talk to people who are into it, I get it kind of for reasons why you're saying. Like, it is a very non-formulaic film. Like, it is. And I talk to people about that where they're like, well, this really felt like I was seeing something kind of unique.
I have yet to see a Superman movie where the supervillain blows up Congress with a jar of piss.
Yeah.
Definitely not formulaic.
You sure that wasn't in Superman 4?
Yeah. So it's like,
Not
I
even
sort of
Superman
understand it
4
from that
does.
angle. I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't care much for the movie, but I get that. That's true. I haven't seen Lex Luthor do something like that before.
Honestly, we haven't seen a Lex Luthor like that.
At all.
I love bringing people together.
But no, it's one of those. Honestly, I enjoy it more than Man of Steel. Honestly,
I did too.
I think Ben Affleck was surprisingly amazing as Batman. Jeremy Irons was great.
That was my problem with the movie, though. I wanted just their story. I'm like,
Same here.
Can we take Superman out of this?
They have the best love story.
They do have the best love story.
So no, I hear that, and there are people. I mean, I know it got like a lot of backlash, but there are people that still legit really like that film, and that's interesting. Just you like it because it is different. It took kind of a different angle, and I think that's pretty cool. So
Thanks,
awesome!
guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Hi there.
Yep, hi. I'm a big fan of indie horror movies. Like,
what?
Indie horror movies.
Okay.
I like to see something with zero budget, and this is a film that I think does a perfect job with no money, and a lot of people seem to hate it. Murder Party.
Oh, I love
That's a good
Murder
movie.
Party. Oh, yeah. I'm hoping this is building in like popularity because I think it's on Netflix
Yeah,
now.
it just got on
was.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a friend of mine brought it for us to watch. He's like, I don't know, a friend recommended this to me. It sounds like a cool idea. Let's just see. And we put it on not knowing a thing. And that's the best way to watch it. And it's just such a great, it's like a horror comedy that's also like kind of lampooning really pretentious art farts and stuff like that.
Huh.
And it's trying, I don't know, but it's also kind of Mad Hatter Tea Party-ish too. It's like this guy.
It goes crazy.
Yeah, I don't even want to like really go into it. Someone can watch. I think it's fair to say someone can watch it and be like, well, why is there so much just sitting around and not doing it? I thought it was a horror film, and so, I mean, you do get the horror aspects, but the characters are just so up their own asses that I think it's so funny. I feel like everybody knows someone that's like that pretentious and that.
I've seen this.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
And it's got some. I think all the gore is practical, right?
Yes, yeah,
I
it's all
remember.
practical
Yeah,
extras
so I
and
mean,
digital
that all looks
removal.
great. No, if you haven't seen this, I think it's still on Netflix. Check it out. It's good. But you say that some people don't like it?
Everybody I have ever talked to and mentioned this movie to, they do not like it. They think
Really?
way too much talking.
Okay, I
Yeah.
guess that's what I was saying. Yeah,
And it's called Murder Party.
Murder Party, yeah. It's one of those films where it's like, I can see where they're coming from if they just want to go slasher, kill them. Like, I get it because you do have to say, and people could just legit not like those characters on, just, I don't like them. You're not supposed to like them, but I really don't like them. I don't want to see a movie about them. So that makes sense. But yeah, I'm with you because I have known people that pretentious and that, snooty and stuff. And just like, I really love it. And I think it is growing in popularity. So you're definitely not alone on it.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Oh, I do horror reviews on Level Up Movies.
Cool. I'll check it out,
Thank
man.
you.
Take care.
Lion King sucks.
What do you say?
What?
Lion King sucks.
Which one?
Damn, son. Wow.
Not my Hamlet.
What's your next blow? You're gonna be like, in Schindler's List, overrated.
Well, first of all, we should clarify the live action or the animate. Well, live action.
The original.
But we know it's gonna suck. Come on.
Oh,
yeah. so okay. Why does the Lion King suck?
Specifically for Mufasa.
Oh, really? Why is that?
He's a dick.
I'll give you my reason why.
He dies like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't get out of that film alive.
Listen to this.
I'm really curious. Like, why don't you like that character?
Mufasa dies. Simba thinks it's him because Scar blames him. So Simba goes on this depressing journey that only keeping him aloft by a crazed pig and a meerkat. This whole time he goes like 5 years in the jungle, like while everyone else is like suffering due to Scar's thing.
Wait, we talking about Mufasa or we talking about Simba?
No, I'm getting there. So Simba's on this journey.
He hates them all.
Okay.
Simba's out on the journey. Everyone else is suffering, and then Mufasa finally comes out of nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, Simba, you didn't kill me. It's not your fault.
But the Rafiki needed to show him the way.
Okay, what I love, it's funny you mention that because...
Are we being trolled?
No. It's like, I do like that movie, but I think that's a big problem too. Yeah. I think there's a huge problem that... not necessarily that Mufasa says, hey, this guy killed me, go get him, even though he could have.
He had to be spiritually ready to receive a message.
Not just that. I mean, it's learning that,
and learning that there's, stuff.
Yeah, no, it's him learning a lesson that, that he can go back and confront his mistake and everything. But and I really, really hate this. I really kind of agree with this. He goes back, he says, yes, I committed this murder and stuff like that. Nobody has his back. Everyone's like, oh, get rid of him. And he doesn't fight fight back. He's going to fall off a cliff. And then when he finds out he didn't do the thing, that's when everybody's on his side. That's when he's victorious. So it's like, so wait, the lesson he learned is pure bullshit. Yeah. But like, it really legitimately is, and that, I am just totally with you on that. That really bothers me. Like
Go watch Kimba the White Lion, then.
No.
No, even when I was a kid, I was like, wait, what did he learn then?
My biggest issue in the movie is just the voice acting. To go from James Earl Jones to Jonathan Taylor Thomas to Matthew Broderick, that is a gene pool in a downward spiral. How do you go from James Earl Jones to that?
But it kind of makes sense. Have you seen a lot of celebrity children?
Well, we know how they get into college now, don't we?
Oh, no!
That's how Simba made it.
Rob, we're at the shallow end of the gene pool.
Well, baby Simba's singing voice was great.
Yeah, because he was dubbed. His singing voice is amazing.
But you know, I mean, you heard everyone go, "Oh, the Lion King sucks," but I think that is a 100% legitimate point.
Yeah, Lion King 1.5 was better. Lion King 1.5 was better.
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, Timon and Pumbaa are the best. And then, I don't know, the pig and the meerkat's like, you know their names.
Maybe.
Timon and Pumbaa.
It's Tom and Jerry.
You know who it is.
Ren and Stimpy?
Heckle and Jekyll.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you.
That one was fun.
Woof.
Hello.
Hi there.
Yeah. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hope yours is as good as the Lion King.
Well, mine might just beat that. I dislike Up.
I've heard that before. The Pixar movie,
Right.
correct? I've heard that before.
We are literally going to incite a riot. We've got to be careful here.
But I've heard it. Guys, shh. Guys, come on. I've heard different reasons why. Why don't you enjoy Up?
Well, first of all, being the movie that came after WALL-E, which is my personal favorite movie of all time.
A lot of people like that. Yeah.
It's just maybe it's because I'm more of a cynical person, and also I feel like the trailers kind of pulled a Snow Dogs on us, where it's like, oh, this old man and this little chubby Asian kid, but. And obviously that's still in the movie, but first we're introduced to this really depressing, sad, and ultimately romantic, intro. And I understand that, but that wasn't enough of a driving force for me to feel like so interested or invested into the movie.
I got that.
I honestly think he's 100% correct.
Yeah.
Now, what?
I don't hate the movie, but.
Well, I was gonna say, was it kind of boring to you? Was that it? You couldn't get into the characters? Was that the main thing?
Yeah, I guess I can understand why people love it so much because of the beginning, but that wasn't enough to really make the rest of it interesting.
Okay, so you thought it was dull. You thought it was like kind of a boring movie, correct?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
It's one of the best short films I have ever seen with an R-rated movie tagged onto the rest of it. Like,
So-
that's kind of my issue.
Is it like what and I love this movie, but is it like what a lot of people say about When a Stranger Calls?
Yes, that one tricked me too. I was like, oh, is that not the movie? I forgot about that.
But it's funny you said that about WALL-E, because that's another one where I'm like, oh yeah, the first half of that's great, and then that whole thing just implodes. So I like one half of that movie.
But yeah, I've heard that before, and I've heard people like just say they didn't like Up because it's like, I didn't want to be depressed by the opening. What the hell? Like, you know.
Oh, the opening's the best part.
No.
The rest of the
know,
film,
but,
I'm kind
no,
of.
but I'm saying that there's a fair amount of people who don't like that movie, but I've never heard like the same reason why, which I find interesting.
I was hoping it'd be like, balloons don't do that.
Listen, I don't want to be depressed by an animated movie. All right, go watch Grave of the Fireflies. You'll be fine.
No, so I definitely heard that one before as well. So we got time for, I think, one more here. So let's do the last one.
Wait, 1 second. I drove 9 hours. Can I get squeezed in here too?
You drove 5 hours, is that what it said?
9 hours.
9. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead first.
I drove 10 hours. 11.
I'm 33. Okay, I owe this fella a beer because that was awesome. All right, so anyways, I just wanted to first off, since I guess we're ending here, just say thanks to you guys being here. I love the.
Well, thanks for showing up.
Yeah. Thank you for driving so long.
It would be awkward if you people weren't here.
No, I love that Rob and Malcolm are here because Santa Christ and Satan are like my favorite characters there.
He put them in a movie together.
Oh, nice. So I've been watching Brad since 2007, ever since he did the review on Boondock Saints sequel and shit on it, and I loved it. Thanks, man. I've seen every episode.
Thank you so much.
Same thing with Doug, 2007. I saw your 5-second movie of The Passion of the Christ, and was just screaming. And I love that. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much, man.
All right, so, my tastes are more in line with Brad. I love, horror, cyberpunk action and from the 80s and, really bad taste movies. I understand his love for Caligula because I have the Criterion Collection of the Criterion Collection edition of Salo.
Caligula and La La Land.
Yeah.
Best double feature.
But
Caligula.
I love Pasolini's Salo, so I totally understand. It's delightfully gross. So 2 movies that that I find myself or the movie that I find myself liking that no one likes is Hudson Hawk.
Thank you.
I love that movie.
That's what I was.
Right?
Yeah, I was considering saying that at the top of the show. It was on my list of options to say. I love that movie.
Thank you. It's
great film.
I mean, the comedic timing from the villain, he's nuts. I love the camaraderie between Danny Aiello and Bruce Willis. Even Angie is crazy as hell. So it's a really good movie. Just to, wrap it up and keep it short. That's really all I'm going to say there.
We do legit have to wrap up there. So, yeah, I mean, that's another one that's growing a following. Like, you're definitely not alone. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have kind of come out of the woodwork. Like, I kind of like that because it is so silly and awkward and crazy and over the top. So, definitely not alone on that. Cool. If there's anything I want to leave you guys with, just remember that, whether you disagree or agree or whatever, if you share instead of forcing your opinion, you can really find out a lot about a person, something maybe you didn't know, and maybe you can express something that they didn't know before. And movies are a great way of doing it because, it doesn't hurt anybody if you dislike a movie or like a movie. But
unless it's La La Land or the like.
Obviously. Yeah. but nobody's physically hurt, I don't think. But it's a great way to really find out about people. So get out there, share your opinions, and have fun with it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.